NZ Aerosports, Icarus Canopies, now Gyro. That's right, we've rebranded, and Gyro is our next generation. It honours our founder, as that's the name we knew him by, but Gyro also marks the start of a new chapter. And not to be biased, but it's going to be fucking epic. Long story short, we're more us than ever, so if you're new to the sport, or even a Sky God Ninja Turtle, welcome. I think our valiant leader Lucy, Gyro's daughter, says it best.
And we still got that fuck yeah attitude. Rebrand! Woo!
Rebrand woo indeed, Lucy. Anyway, head over to gyro.com for more info and get amongst your legends.
I was 19, broke, unemployed, and sold my girlfriend's canopy for drug money. So I thought I better sew her a new one. What a sentence, and what a story. This describes the humble yet outrageous beginnings of NZ Aerosports, the home of Icarus Canopies, in the words of our founder himself. From getting a paratrooper toy from his mom, watching parachutes at the DZ as a 6-year-old, jumping off the wharf with a parachute made from bed sheets, doing his first jump at 16, sewing his first canopy on a borrowed machine at 19, and starting to sell parachutes out of a garage in 1986, Paul Gyro Martin had an undying love for the sky. Our company started with one man with the wildest of spirits and a true blue sky dream, a renegade. In the time that Gyro created and ran the Icarus Canopies brand until he passed away in 2017, he pushed everything he had to its limits. We miss him, and we always will. Gyro is the next generation of NZ Aerosports. It honors our founder, of course, because it was the name we all knew him by, but Gyro the rebrand also marks the start of a new chapter, our next jump. Gyro is the space between sound and silence, art and science, chaos and calm. Gyro is a state of epic tranquility that transcends understanding. That moment, in the door, in free fall, mid-swoop, where nothing but the present exists. A perfect balance of euphoria and thrill. Gyro captures our passion for flying and our commitment to designing break-the-fucking-rules canopies that deliver pilots pure, wild flight.
Coming straight from the cockpit, it's another episode of Lunatic Fringe with the fucking pilot.
Ready, set, go. Back in the can for... Fuck, I've been waiting for this one. This has taken a while and a little bit of organizing, but I am super stoked because I've got a co-host that's a super rock star that people have heard before. Who are you?
Hey, I'm Omar Alhegelan, and thank you so much for having me back.
Omar back in the house, but check this out. Let's just get straight to it, man. Who the fuck are you, and what do you do?
Well, daggum. My name's Joe Jennings, and I coordinate stunts, and I'm a camera flyer.
Joe Jennings. That's Joe Jennings.
That is Joe Jennings,
dude,
the one
fucking
and
Joe
only
Jennings.
Joe Jennings.
Holy shit. Holy shit. Man, you have been
I have been called Joe fucking Jennings before.
There you go.
Plenty of times.
There you go. You have been part of my skydiving career pretty much from day fucking one, because I remember watching you with this massive camera helmet and this big white knobby thing coming off the front of your helmet while you were doing live air to ground in the X Games.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man. Dude, you were like a role model to me and a whole bunch of other people. So I have been super stoked to get this podcast.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Awesome.
So, well, hell, we're just going to get you rolling, man. I want to know, how did you become Joe fucking Jennings? You know, because you obviously at some point you were just little Joey, but you ended up being this badass and kind of an icon in the sport. Where did it all start for you?
Man, I think like a lot of people, I went out and tried skydiving, and I think for some of us, we go and do it and we find it to be exciting and exhilarating, but not necessarily something that is it like transformative, you know. And then there are some of us, I think, who go and do it, and just everything that we sense and everything that we feel about it draws us in, and we realize this is going to be a big part of our lives.
Sure.
So, I mean, that's kind of how skydiving happened to me. And then that evolved into, you know, living in the back of my truck and packing parachutes and just doing whatever I could to be around the sport. But one of the things that I was drawn to, and I think what led to becoming a camera flyer was I was really drawn to not just experiencing the sport, but to recording it so that I could relive it.
Sure.
And so I think once I had about 8 jumps, just, you know, before I was getting off student status, I was already taking a, you know, cassette tape recorder and duct taping it to my wrist and yelling into it, you know, I'm in free fall, you know, and listening back to it, you know, again and again, like it was just re-experiencing it was just one of the things I loved. So I would always carry a tape recorder and just scream into it, you know. And so naturally, you know, becoming a video camera flyer, I mean, I think it was a natural progression for me, and I got into it and got a job filming students, which I loved. And then, you know, it's interesting with RW and filming students and whatnot, that all became very straightforward. After a certain period of time, it was it was easy.
Sure.
It was easy to film a 4-way. It was easy to film students, and it was so easy that I started to burn out. But I had heard about freestylists. I had heard about people flying in more 3-dimensional way, and camera flyers talking about how difficult it was to do and to film. And I was always curious about it. And then I got an opportunity to try it out when I met Rob Harris. I just met him by chance.
Was it the challenge that drew you
Yes.
in to those to freestyle and sky surfing, would you say?
Yeah, there was kind of a curiosity. Like I was just hearing about these, you know, hardcore camera flyers who were doing this 3-dimensional flying and chasing freestylists, and they would talk about like, whoa, that's really high end, that's difficult, that's, you know. And so then I run into Rob Harris at Paris, and for some reason there was kind of a serendipity to it. We were just hanging out at Paris. I didn't know him from Adam, but for some reason we just ended up hanging out together and talking, and he invited me to go up and jump with him, and he was doing freestyle at the time. I was like, great, I'll give it a try, you know. And so we jump out of the plane, and, you know, Omar, you're familiar with this. I mean, you start doing your moves, and there's horizontal movement and vertical movement, and things are just going all over the place. And
Absolutely.
I remember, you know, and I remember chasing after him and, you know, opening my parachute at the end of the jump, kind of exhausted, just breathing heavily, like, what the hell was that, you know?
Right.
And, you know, really feeling like I was kind of like a human jet, like with him in my sight, trying to chase this elusive target.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, wow. Oh, yeah, this is, I'm in,
It's,
Hook, line,
you know?
hook, line, and sinker.
It's funny that you say, though, that
Pretty much.
what drew you into that type of flying was that the rest of it kind of became so mundane almost. And to the people that are listening that just started skydiving, the concept of any skydive being mundane or run-of-the-mill is just so far out there. So it says a lot about your drive to really get into it, that you got to the point where that was just, you know.
Yeah, I think what I learned about myself, I didn't know it at the time, but what I learned about myself is that a big part of the thrill is the continuing process of learning.
For sure.
and evolving, right? I mean, like, and anything you do is, if you do it enough, you know, if you're doing the same thing enough, eventually, you know, like really, you know, like what porn star comes home from a hard day of work horny? I don't know.
Absolutely. So let me ask you a question. So here you are meeting Rob.
You're gonna have to edit that, aren't you?
No.
No way.
No, you're just getting into the taste of this podcast.
Here you are. You run into Rob Harris. You go do a freestyle jump with him. How did the sky surf come into play?
You know, he decided to start sky surfing. He and I saw Patrick de Gallardon. The first time we ever heard or knew of him was seeing him sky surf for this Reebok commercial that was being filmed by, right? That Reebok commercial that Patrick Pass filmed.
Yep.
And they were filming over this beautiful lake and the mountains, and Patrick is zipping across the sky, and it was so visually compelling to me. It just spoke volumes, you know, about just something that somebody could do on the ground, snowboarding, and suddenly there's this guy in the air doing it. It was like beautiful. And I think Rob felt the same way. And so Rob's like, I'm going to get into sky surfing. And when I was first chasing him in freestyle, I was a reasonably good camera flyer. He had a camera flyer at the time, but I think he liked what I was doing. You know, I just, there was a part of me that just had a very, very competitive, you know, desire to do well. And so I was chasing him as hard as I possibly could, and I loved it. And I think he appreciated that. And so he invited me to train with him. And then I think he recognized that I just, you know, first of all, I really liked him and I liked being around him. He was a very, very nice guy.
Good energy.
I also remember him being, yeah. And, you know, and being around him, he was so cool that cool rubbed off on you a little bit.
Absolutely. He was the he was the Mac Daddy of cool.
He really was. He really was. And so it was sort of like that, being in proximity with him. So I was very drawn to him as a person. And then he decides to get into sky surfing, and I was in love with the visuals of it. So I was like, hell yeah, I'm in. And then, you know, as fortune would have it, his talent was, his progression and his talent was just extraordinary. And I got to be, you know, his wingman. I got to be the, you know, supporting act in a hell of a show.
I think you're not giving yourself quite enough credit, because when I watched everything that you guys were doing, I was, like everybody else, I was blown away by his insane ability on the board and his charisma on the board, because that cool factor and that nice guy feel came through in the way that he was flying and the expressions on his face. But it was the video that appealed to me, because it's what brought him to me. You know, I mean, I watched all these amazing developments, and for me, especially now, looking back at it 25 years later, I was watching guys that learned to do this one jump at a time. No wind tunnel time, no nothing. You're coming up with moves like the tidy bowl in the hole that blew my fucking mind, man. I remember watching the outside video of you guys doing that from the X Games, floored, because I was a shit camera flyer at the time trying to get better, and watching you casually carving around on your back around him, I wasn't just blown away with his ability, I was floored by yours as well. So you've got to make sure you give yourself the credit, because there's two people to that team, and you were both fucking amazing.
Absolutely.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I mean, it was... you really feel motivated, right, around somebody who's doing that well, and the luck, fortunately for me, Rob was, he didn't care if I lost frame, you know, he didn't care if I went up and shot a crappy video and he couldn't see himself, and so I wasn't there as a critiquing tool. for him. I was actually part of the team, and he wanted to interact with me. So it was like, try this move, and Tidy Bowl in the Hole was, 100 jumps of me losing him entirely out of frame and,
Right.
10 seconds of trying to bring it back together. And it's like, he supported that. So that was a big deal for me. You really, when you're working with somebody who's really good, it drives you to be really good too, right?
Sure.
You want to be part of the game. And I, a camera flyer is 25% of the score. So now I realize, like, I'm contributing to the score. I was heavily motivated. And at the time, my ego was in it 100%. I want to be the best out there. Like, I want to win camera flyer of the year. I want all that stuff. And in hindsight, I know, like, anybody flying camera for Rob, would have won gold medals. I know that. And so I felt very, fortunate to be there, but I also felt driven to, be part of that excitement.
Sure. Well, it came through the energy and the chemistry between you two. Really, really, you could feel it, and especially when I got to see outside video of you. But just watching, there's one video that stands out where at the end of the jump, I think one of the signature moves is he would come up and put his hand over your lens.
Yeah.
And it always blew me away because that really put into perspective, there's two fucking people there. Because it's very easy to forget that the reason that video is there is because it's strapped to somebody's head. And as soon as he came up and put his hand over your lens, you're like, wow, that's a fucking team right there. It's an acknowledgement, and it just sticks out in my mind.
And I think that's a big part of what opened up Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
For both of us at the time, because I think that producers and people in the production and skydiving community saw this. And, at the time, Omar, you probably remember, like, everything was extreme. It was like extreme telephone, extreme sunglasses, extreme soda, extreme
Doritos
car, and so extreme was like, and so, it was like the opportunities just busted open, for both of us. For Rob as a performer and me as a camera flyer. And man, it was like we just rode that wave.
That, at least specifically from my generation, what brought skydiving into the mainstream was absolutely sky surfing in the X Games. You guys were the first to ever put it in people's faces in such an amazing way. And that was a huge draw for people like me. And then obviously all the work that you pioneered, basically, you guys were starting, you're the tip of the spear for a lot of the shit that has gone down in the last 25 years.
I think we played a significant part. I really do. It's interesting, that sky surfing, it was, it was exciting and it drew a lot of attention at the time, but I think it opened people's eyes to, like, just the skill level it took to do, free flying and freestyle and wingsuit flying and all the other things that are now kind of looked at, like, for example, when the doors opened for us in Hollywood, what I realized pretty quickly, and what actually got me in a fair amount of trouble in the stunt community, was back then, Omar, you remember this.
Absolutely. I know where you're going.
Whenever there was a movie or a commercial that the producers needed skydiving filmed, it was, okay, well, yeah, you filmed great, but we need to bring in the stunt men, the established stunt people in the Screen Actors Guild who, they not only know how to skydive, but they know what to do on camera because they're experienced and so on and so forth. And I had been running around the world with, people like Omar and Olav and Rob and all of these trained flyers, Arizona Airspeed, et cetera, and seeing the talent out there. And, some of my first jobs, I was up with stunt people, and I felt like I was just kind of looking at people who were a little bit glazed over and not quite there. You know what I mean?
Yep.
We just weren't, it just wasn't resonating. It didn't feel right. And so
Sure.
pretty soon I was bringing in people that I knew, Omar, you, Greg, Rob. Unfortunately I wasn't able to do it with Rob for too long, but I knew pretty well, like, wow, there's real talent out there. I traveled around the world with these people. I know who they are. I want to bring them in. That was a big no-no, because then you're getting people their SAG card, and the stunt people who are already in SAG are like, what in the hell are you doing?
Hmm.
Yeah.
And so I was read the riot act a number of times,
And unfortunately,
And,
that's what bit you in the ass and
Yeah.
and the Hollywood community.
It really did.
You still were able to do quite a lot of
Yeah.
work, but it became very difficult. A lot of people decided to put that black tape, or that red tape, excuse me, and just kind of blackball you.
That doesn't make any fucking sense to me,
Yeah.
because I mean,
Sure.
I don't know, maybe I'm being too logical in this world, but don't you want the best for the job?
You would think that you would, but it was all about, they wanted to keep their jobs and job security. And the stuntmen who were stuntmen themselves and just so happened to be skydivers were like, no, this work should come to me. And why is Joe bringing all these world champions and these top flyers to take our jobs away from
You
us?
pretty much just said it right there. Oh man, I hate to say it. It's not that it doesn't surprise me. It just sucks, because
100%.
you want
100%.
you want the best for the fucking job.
The thing is, like, today it's understood, right? One of the arguments I used to make all the time is, like, if you're going to film like this epic surfing scene in a movie, are you going to bring in the stuntmen?
Nope.
Or are you going to get
Lair
Eric
Hamilton
Slater and these guys, right?
Sure.
Yeah, and it was like a no-brainer. Get the people who have trained, right? Not a stunt person who knows how to surf.
Yep.
And but so I remember, that was an argument that I was making. Today, I think it's a given.
Now it's standard practice. You're always ahead of the curve. You're before your time,
Well, at
Joe.
the time, yeah, and I paid a big price. I mean, to this day, it's interesting. I'm trying now that I'm coming back enthusiastically into, I'm done with that midlife crisis, right? And like, I'm ready to re-engage. I'm actually starting to reach out again to the stunt community, because, and it's funny, I posted a couple of things, hey, I'm doing this project and so on and so forth. And, my post was taken down, and I'm like, oh man, who did that?
Really?
And I'm realizing that, like, some of those old feelings are still there. I was the bad guy, and
Oh no.
I was very defiant at the time. There was a part of me that was just flipping them the middle bird too, because after a while I was like, no, this is how I'm going to do it, and fuck you, I was just that they were blackballing me. And so to this day is still some resentment, and so what I'm trying to do is just reach out and say, hey guys, I'm back, and I'm ready to move on.
Sure. Actually, I want to ask you a quick question, because we talked about this briefly before the podcast, and the topic has come up now and then, and it always cracks me up. And you kind of define how weird skydivers can be, because your midlife crisis was to go become a normal person.
Correct.
Right. So, and you even had a website and all this. Please, you got to briefly tell everybody what a skydiver's midlife crisis, a champion skydiver's midlife crisis, sounds like.
Honestly, I think it's when I turned 50, right? So I'm 58 now. I think it's when I turned 50, this narrative started playing in my head that I am now getting too old for this. I live in a relatively affluent neighborhood, and some of my neighbors are very successful business people and so on. And, I would always have this conversation. Oh, you're still doing that? Really? And then there was that part of myself, like kind of saying, yeah, I am. man, maybe I shouldn't be, I'm kind of getting old here. And so I think that played louder and louder and louder. And honestly, it was kind of a painful period for me because I knew I loved it, but I was telling myself it's over, and that all culminated into me, deciding to get into the solar business. I knew some people who were killing it in solar and they were ready to support me. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to learn about this. I get my contractor's license. I'll do this. I'll start this business. And I got that whole process started. And then I announced it like, hey, I'm solar guy now and I'm in and this is my business. And I started doing it. And
how long did that last?
It killed me, man. It's like I started doing it and I started, going to visit people, measure their houses, trying to sell them a system, talk about it. And it like literally just, there was zero excitement. I was so bored, it hurt. And so that was hard for me. All of this, it's funny thinking about it now, but at the time it was painful.
Sure.
Like, I can't do anything. I'm worthless, like, can't I do a normal job?
Right.
And
it's so great.
And then something. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, it's so great for someone with the history of Joe Jennings, with all the accolades, all the prizes, all the awards, all the freaking gold medals, all the Hollywood shows, commercials that says, I'm worthless. I haven't done anything. What am I going to do?
Yeah, no shit. Meanwhile, I'm rolling through 25 years in the sport and 51 and still doing this shit. And if Joe Jennings fucking, Jesus Christ, I'm fucked.
I'm sorry, bro. I swear to God, I'm laughing with you, not at you.
That's fucking fantastic.
Oh, I get it.
Dude, if you'd have showed, if Joe Jennings had showed up to put fucking solar panels on my house, I would have just left the country. Like, no, it's all gone to shit now.
It's over.
Because the way that I see it, it's kind of funny as you say, people would ask you, you're still skydiving, almost like looking down at you. What I hear is people were trying to drag you back into the shit with them. The old saying, misery loved company. I think they were just fucking jealous because that's what I'd be thinking. At 50, this guy is still doing what he loves? Holy shit, we got to make this guy miserable.
Do you remember when you had...
Yeah, so we're going to tell him, oh, Joe, that's great. You're still doing that. It's so cute. And I'm hearing that like...
Sure.
Oh, you're,
Now, do you remember when you had that aha moment and say, fuck this, what am I doing?
I don't remember exactly. I just remember I just started feeling my heart opening up. Honestly, psychedelics.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
Awesome.
I'm a fan. Like I got into it, believe it or not, with my son, Joey.
Awesome.
Joey is, he's into it and he introduced me to it. He actually talked me through a few times when I would get a little spooked on it.
Sure.
Start having like a little bad trip and he'd be like, it's all right, Dad, come on, let's watch a funny cartoon, and like, he was like really good, kind of like a guide, and so, I found myself, doing, mushrooms and other things on a pretty regular basis. And, I think that just opened it helped me open up to like what I am, and it kind of helped me to accept my strengths and my weaknesses, and then also to just begin to feel my enthusiasm again for what I do, what I love to do.
That's go ahead.
Well, here's the thing: we're as skydivers, we're passion driven. And here you try to put aside that passion and try to use your brain and say, okay, this is what society is telling me I should do. This is how I should look at my future. No, it's just that simple. And sometimes it's the psychedelics that can put that back into perspective and telling us you are passion driven and you have to give in to that passion.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, I mean, I suppose everybody's
True,
had to deal
Omar.
with that at
And
one
I
time
used
or
to
another.
really,
Go ahead. Please go ahead.
well, what I used to envy about like you and Rob and, people who could smoke pot and who could, and who could go to that alternate perspective. I think what marijuana and what psychedelics and things like that give us is a chance to see the world from a different perspective. I think that's what draws some people. It can also be scary, right? You go into that alternate perspective and it can scare the crap out of you. And I think that that learning to manage that, then it opens that door. So you're not just, I think being straight and natural and all of that is important and good, right? But I also see a real value in being able to kind of see things from another perspective.
Sure.
Wonderful.
Well, and if you think about it, there's a huge parallel to the stuff that you're describing with psychedelics and skydiving, right? It's a one-way trip. You step off that aircraft, you swallow those mushrooms, there's one way, and that's to go through, not back. So you have to learn that fear kicks in, whether it's on a jump or a big bag of mushrooms. You at some point have to realize, all right, fuck, I'm here.
There's no turning back.
I have to deal with this. I'm going to come out of this one way or the other. And it's a huge growing experience because I've had to deal with fear.
Yeah, there's a surrender to it.
Oh, yeah, man. And being able to deal with that fear, to feel that kind of fear, whether it's, psychedelically induced or jumping out of an airplane, to feel that fear and to deal with it and do it anyway and come out the backside, you're never going to be anything but stronger. Which is fantastic, dude.
I agree.
Hats off.
I agree.
And the fact
like
that
I was
you're
saying, Omar, like.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, like, what I envied about like Omar and Rob Harris and people who could at the time they could smoke pot. Like, if I smoked pot, I would just get freaked out.
Yeah.
I just wasn't ready, But I admired that they could function on it. Like, oh my God, they can go to this, alternate perspective and still function beautifully on it.
Sure.
Whereas I would go there and it'd just be like, wow, the floor, like I just would be like looking at, like a bug or something. I like, but yeah, I mean, I think that there are some real, there are some real parallels. Skydiving is a real surrender, isn't it?
Sure.
100%.
Absolutely.
So, Joe, let me go back a little bit. You and I met pretty much, I believe, was 1994 before the SSI Pro Tour in Eloy, Arizona, where you and Rob took the gold medal, correct? Now, from that point, did you know exactly what was going to happen between you and him? Did you know that it was going to take off the way it did?
You mean before the 94 World Meet?
No. After having won the gold medal in 94, did you know that Rob was going to become the Rob that we all know and love, and that was going to succeed and just obliterate everyone else? And by far, I mean, the guy back then, even in 95, 96, was doing moves, 94, 95, was doing moves that today people still are having a hard time emulating.
It's like I knew something was happening. I didn't know what it was going to be, but I knew, like, okay, this is a wave. There's a momentum here. Mm-hmm. I remember realizing a couple of things. One is that, wow, this is huge, and something in my mind began to realize, okay, there's real opportunities here opening up. And so a part of me was smart enough to know, like, all right, I'm going to really try to take advantage of this, prepare myself so I can understand film and so on, so that if I'm asked about doing a job, I'll know what to do. Now, so I became really in film, which you saw in Malaysia when I was smacking my camera with a hammer.
I still tell that story,
that?
And absolutely, I still tell people that story, and I want you to tell us that when we get to it. You know what? Might as well say it now. What was going on? We were over. We were in a military transport plane on our way to exit. We were doing a Bollywood production movie, Dawn, with Shah Rukh Khan, and take it from there.
Okay. All right. Terrific. But I will say, like after Rock had this momentum, I'm just going to backtrack a little bit, Omar, if
Sure,
that's
sure.
okay.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
The floor is yours.
I when we won the '94 World Meet, like when we walked onto Skydive Arizona, we wanted nothing more than just to qualify for the X Games
Right.
the following year.
Right.
And we didn't know we were going to win, and then suddenly we win. And it's interesting when, and you've been there, Omar, plenty of times where you win a competition and, suddenly the eyes turn around and they're on you. Like this attention happens,
Yep.
And of course, when I was training, I wanted nothing more in the world than that. And then when it happened, I couldn't have been more uncomfortable, but luckily Rob was, he was like fluid and graceful with it. And I kind of was able to copy him a little bit to try to act like I was comfortable with it. But I was not at all comfortable with being an insider. I was much more comfortable with being the kid with ADD who was an outsider, know?
Right.
So I learned a lot from that, but it was difficult. But then, of course, that led to all this cool Hollywood stuff. And it led to Bollywood, right? Which, which got us hooked up with this job in India.
Well, I'm sorry. Sorry to cut you off.
Movie with Shah Rukh Khan.
Sorry to cut you off, but right
Yes,
right before you get into that, tell us about how you got your film camera, your 16 millimeter camera.
Oh gosh, yeah. So I decided I'm going to learn film, right? Because I'm like, okay, we're getting all this attention, and so there's an opportunity here. So I need to learn film, and so I ended up reaching out to Jean Bainish, who was Carl Bainish's wife.
Mm-hmm.
And Carl Bainish is that's what you're thinking, Omar, right? Am I going down what
100%
you're thinking about?
Absolutely.
Carl Bainish was, an icon in the skydiving and film community. I mean, he was really one of the great pioneers who came before Tom Sanders and Norman Kent. And Tom Sanders and Norman Kent to me were gods. I remember they'd come to the drop zone, at Paris Valley where I was jumping, and I was so awestruck by them that I could not speak to them. I would just stare at them,
gawking.
And as soon as their eyes would turn towards me, I'd turn away like, I ain't looking. I'm cool. Right?
Yeah.
So I was just that guy who couldn't even bring myself to speak with them. But Jean Bainish was, she was just so, I don't know, easy to be around. And she was kind of, a little nerdy and just really super into the technology of film cameras and so on. And I remember speaking with her and talking about getting into film, and she brought me in and we looked at all his old cameras and we talked about refurbishing them and getting them running. And she's teaching me all these little things. And she was so smart that I didn't understand, 80% of what she was saying, but she taught me a lot and set me up with Carl Bainish's old cameras. Nice. And we, got those cameras going. I had them modified, and I shot most of my career on Carl Bainish's old cameras. And then when I was done and everything went to digital, I packed up those cameras and his old helmet and all the stuff that I had, and I sent it to the skydiving museum. So they have all that stuff now.
Nice. And if I'm not mistaken, those cameras were actually World War II airplane cameras, right?
Yeah. So those were already old cameras when Carl got them.
Right.
And then Carl modified them for his purposes. and he filmed, movies like The Iceman and I mean, I'm pulling a blank, but he filmed a lot of the great old skydiving movies with those cameras.
Amazing.
So that by the time I got it, it's like those cameras were really great film cameras, but they needed to be modified again because shooting Super 35, and we have a different things are technically a little different, so they had to be modified, but not by much.
Fuck me, and I was bitching because I had to start shooting with high 8.
Yeah,
and
there you go.
And you're flying around with the World War II cameras on your head. Jesus Christ, I'm a pussy.
I think, you know what, Joe, that's a perfect segue to take us now all the way to Malaysia and the Shah Rukh Khan movie.
Yes.
Because now we got a visual of the cameras that you're using.
Yeah, this is a good story, and it's a good reflection of how much I respected the fact that those were Carl's cameras.
Sorry, I can't stop laughing because I know the outcome.
Yeah, dude, telling you, man, crazy when I think back on it. I think so. We were filming this movie with Shah Rukh Khan was starring in it. The movie's called Dawn. It's this big, Hollywood blockbuster
Bollywood
hit. Shah Rukh Khan Bollywood, and Shah Rukh Khan is bigger than Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is a big deal, but Shah Rukh Khan, in the world stage, is a big deal.
Much bigger
and so
fan base.
This was a great production and bigger fan base. That's what I'm getting at. Yeah. So Omar and I and Greg Gasson go off to Malaysia, and Omar is doubling the hero of the movie, Shah Rukh Khan, and Greg is doubling and playing the role of this bad guy who just wants to kill Omar, just wants nothing more than just to kill Omar, right? And Greg played it beautifully. My God, I mean, it's like he went into character and he just looked evil, right?
Amazing transformation. Because Greg, I mean, I don't know
how
much.
Incredible.
I don't know how well or whether you know him or not, Dean. But Greg is the sweetest, nicest guy that couldn't kill a fly, even if he tried.
But those are the ones that can step into someone else's shoes because they've been watching the whole time.
Yeah, he's like one of those guys where like he got into the role of what he was playing, and you start to feel like, wow, I wonder if he's going to kill me one day. It's like I never saw that side of him. So he played it incredibly well, and we had this. It was really an incredible shoot. We went to Malaysia and we went out to this airport, kind of in this small town in the middle of Malaysia, and we were staying in Kuala Lumpur, and it was just this remarkable, beautiful experience. But one of the things that happened was that we were on a flight on our way to do a jump, and I needed to switch lenses. There was something that a lens had to be changed, and I get this call, I think via radio. Somehow they contacted the pilots, and I get this message: you have to shoot this lens. And I'm like, okay, great. Well, it was very warm on the ground all the time there, but up in the airplane it was cooler. And for whatever reason, the lens that I had in there got stuck, and it would not come out. I could not get it to come out, and I'm trying to pull it out, and I get it halfway out. So now it's out to the point where I can't shoot with it because it will not focus. So I can't keep it in. And I can't take it out. And I'm monkeying around with it.
And by the way, we're on jump run, and the light goes green to exit.
Awesome.
Dude, I mean, that whole trip was crazy, right?
We're gonna get to the other stories, but go ahead and I'll let you finish this one.
Well, so I just get pissed. At that point, I'm just like, suddenly I'm just pissed. And I start smacking the damn thing. I'm just like hitting the lens. Bam, 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 bam. Like, you motherfucker, break out, And Omar and Greg are looking at me, and I just see them slack-jawed, right? Mouths are open, eyes are wide open, looking at me like, he's losing it, you know.
I mean, everything,
And, you know, I'm
ev-
smacking away at this.
everything you hear about glass, you know, it's the precious glass, the
Sure.
lenses and these cameras and so on. And here he is whacking the shit out of them.
Awesome.
Yeah, just smacking it. You know, it's funny because that's like so I'm whacking away at this, and Omar and Greg are looking at me like, all right, so Joe's kind of lost his mind right now. But you know, luckily the lens came out, and I got the other lens in, and we went, and so it worked out.
And he got the shot, of course.
I don't know. Was that the flight? Was that the flight, Omar, where they were spotting us
With the
over like a jungle somewhere? And
Nah, that was a different one. The other one was, I think, the one before that.
okay, yeah. So I managed to get it. On. It's funny because it's an ongoing thing between Greg and me because Greg takes beautiful care of his equipment. I remember we were filming with you in the Middle East, and I was at one of my battery chargers just blew up and filled a room with smoke, you know, and Greg thought it was over, and I pulled the thing apart and looked at it and plugged it back in the wall, and zap, it started working again. I was like, voila, it's great, let's go. And Greg was like, my God, you know, you work with trash, you know, like you just put anything on your helmet. You know?
He's the MacGyver. Joe's always been the MacGyver of aerial cinematography.
I mean, yeah, I'm trying to wrap my head around
Remember, Omar, it was always zip ties and duct tape. Right?
100% zip ties and duct tape.
I mean, I'm trying to wrap my head around the World War II cameras, but then it dawns on me that I started watching you when you were doing the air to ground, and you had that massive transmitter on the front of your head. I mean, and we actually talked a while back just briefly in a couple of messages, and you said physically, like, your neck and everything is fine. How the hell did you manage to keep in relatively, you know, in one piece when you're strapping all this massive equipment to your head for all those years?
You know, I think that there is some genetics involved. Both my mom and dad, in all the way up into their 80s, neither had ever pulled their back or their necks. You know, and so I think I was lucky in that regard. I know that a lot of people who I jumped with, who were, you know, far bigger and stronger and more physically fit than me, you know, J.C. Colclaser, right? That guy is like a human specimen as far as just like his strength and his physical fitness and everything. And we put a red on his head for one jump in Dubai. I'm sorry. We put a red on his head for one jump in the Middle East. And, he came down, you know, from that jump, and he was just like, I'm done.
I'm out.
Yeah.
You know, because we all have, if you think of how many small tendons are going up to control our head and its movement and moving around, it's like any one of those could be pulled and you could be in a lot of pain.
Sure.
And mine just held up.
Man, I mean,
You know?
I can't
I
tell
speak
you.
with Craig O'Brien, and I talk about this all the time, you know, because Craig O'Brien was lucky that way too. I mean, he can carry a lot of weight and he's fine. And Norman can't. Geez. And
Oh, yeah.
Norman is what, you know, 60 something.
I-
He carries more than all of us.
I can't tell you the level of jealousy that I hold. I'm 2 rounds into epidural spinal fucking shots and all kinds of crazy shit from slip discs and all this
No
crap.
way.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Dude, I mean, in that respect, I
From
kind
flying camera?
Yeah, I mean, in that respect, I kind of fucking hate you. I'm not gonna lie, you know. And again, the heaviest I ever strapped on my head was a high 8, and yeah, I'm my doctor took one look at my scans and everything, and was like, my father has better neck than you. So, Joy, yeah, you definitely got the genetic lottery on that one. So good for you.
Dude, is that crazy? I mean, it's really a trip.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, it's genetics. I really do, because again, people a lot more physically fit than me were, you know, just, you know, can't do it. it does bring, another quick story, right? So I have like 14,000 jumps, and one airplane crash that was gnarly right into eucalyptus trees, and a helicopter crash where the entire helicopter was pulled apart.
Jesus Christ.
And I walked away from it. And there was part of me like I felt like a roach, right? Like you just can't stomp me out,
Right.
Like I just walk away from these things. And then about a year ago, I'm climbing up a ladder onto my neighbor's roof, and I have like the ultimate man's, 14,000 skydives and a twisted ankle. That's it. That's the extent of my injuries, other than like cuts and bruises that we all get all the time.
Sure.
And then I fly off a ladder, knock myself out, end up hospitalized in full traction, CAT scans, all that stuff.
Jesus Christ.
Isn't that a trip? I mean,
Crazy.
like,
That's because you were trying to be a normal person.
I was trying to be a normal person, and the ladder collapsed, and I wake up, in Joey's arms. I'm bleeding all over the place because I basically fell down, and I hit this concrete stair.
God.
It hit the front of my face, twisted my neck, and hit the back of my head and knocked me out. I don't remember any of it, but they take me in traction to the hospital, and they run all these scans on me, and they're not seeing anything. But based on the injuries to my face and my head, they were like, no, you something had to give. Something has to be broken. They send me in again. Go through the whole machine, take another look, and they come back, and the doctor's just like,
Nothing.
this is weird.
You're Bruce Willis from that fucking movie Unbreakable.
Well,
You don't know it, but you're actually a superhero.
But he is. You have to understand. His nickname is go ahead, tell him. Bald head.
Oh yeah, bald-headed action figure.
See, there you go. He's always been that.
I like it.
Absolutely.
I like
and
it.
He just proved it. Well, realizing that he was a passionate skydiver.
See,
and
that's
not someone putting solar panels on a roof.
It's funny
Isn't that
that
amazing?
the only time you've injured yourself is in the middle of trying to, fit into all the bullshit. And now that you're back to jumping out of airplanes, you're nice and safe again. How fucking weird is that?
How awesome.
Well, I certainly hope so.
Well, so I got to ask, you've had such a kind of a blessed career in regard to injuries and all that stuff, but it's so hit and miss with skydiving because, so you made your first jump in what year?
I'm going to say like 83, 84.
So you're talking more than 30 years of skydiving. With very little as far as injury to go, but in 30 plus years of skydiving, you've seen way more, I'm sure, than your fair share of injuries and fatalities. And does it seem kind of random after all these years? Have you ever seen a pattern? Is there anything that, kind of aims you towards the real risky shit or not? Because, you've pushed the envelope big time a lot in the sport, and here you are, at 58 years old, shooting the shit and healthy as hell and back to jumping. But there's people that, had to stop jumping almost right away because they fucked themselves up, or, of course, all the fatalities that we have over the years. Have you seen any rhyme or reason in it?
I think one of the things that I discovered was that, none of us are immune. Like some of the best, the people who we felt like were indestructible, you realize that, in some ways we're still doing this by the grace of God, right?
Sure.
I'm going to guess that both of you can probably share this with me, that statistically you probably shouldn't be here, right?
Sure.
How many
Absolutely.
bullets have each of us dodged,
Yeah.
right? So, I've recognized that, and I think I've kind of learned to become grateful that that I'm still here and healthy and able to do this.
Sure.
I've kind of learned that. And I've also learned that in my career, because I like to do kind of crazy stuff, right? I love I love the fluid dynamics of trying to make something fly, but I also really love just crashing stuff into the deck and cleaning it up,
Right.
And we do all this crazy stuff. And I realized partway through that, my entire career has been, I walk this fine line between doing really cool things or winning a Darwin Award.
Well, there you have it. Another episode of the Lunatic Fringe podcast brought to you as always by, well, wait, not as always, actually. Brought to you now by Gyro. Formerly known as NZ Aerosports, you'll head to gyro.com for their next level line of canopies. By Pussfoot, the Extreme Sports Collective. Head over to pussfoot.com to check it out. By Summit Parachute Systems, check out summitparachutesystems.com to talk to Jarrett Martin and the gang about kick-ass pilot rigs, rigging courses, and more. By Flyaway Indoor Skydiving, go to flyawaytn.com and check out all the cutting-edge stuff to come. By Pure Spectrum CBD, head to purespectrumcbd.com to check out their wide range of CBD products. And as for us, head to the lunaticfringepodcast.com to listen to any of the hundreds of episodes currently available, hit the link for our YouTube channel, pick up your copy of the Lunatic Fringe book or The Accidental Stripper, and get a sneak peek at upcoming guests. Once again, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.